2. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have you here today. Um, I have to say that Dr. Fab is hands down one of my most favorite people in this profession for so many reasons. Um, I could read you his bio, but if you are in chiropractic, you have seen him, heard him. Hopefully, you've been live and in person and seen him speak live. This is a man who has touched so many lives, patients, doctors, and even people like me who is just a vendor within the chiropractic industry trying to support this industry. His genuine enthusiasm and love for this profession and helping to advance this profession is unmatched. So I am so excited when we are able to make it work within his insane schedule, which I am not kidding, y'all. It's just crazy, and get him to be a presenter on our webinar series a couple of times a year. So, Dr. Fab, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, Christy, thank you for being the person that you are, for always bringing so much love and service to all of us that work with you, and also for all of you that decided to join us. I just couldn't be more excited to be with you. So today, this presentation is a little bit different. I really want to speak to your mind. I want to speak to your heart. This presentation is a new presentation, and it's based on a new book that I just wrote. The book is not available right now because it's in the process of being sold to a publishing company. But I wanted to give you a little preview of these lessons. I call them the FAB FIVE rules. And the way that this has come about is when I started writing, I have a group of people that I mentor. And I've been doing that for 2 years. And they are very successful people throughout the United States and even outside of the United States that I get to meet 3 times a year with for 2.5 days, and I get to talk to them every week. And I mentor them primarily on ways that they can have a bigger reach and grow their money and their wealth and position themselves to be able to have the type of life that we all want to create. And so I wrote this book in 32 days, and it's primarily the lessons that I felt that would allow you to have more influence than others. Many of us want to grow our businesses, but we don't know how to grow our businesses. What makes somebody more influential than another? So I wanted to share all the lessons that I've learned over the last 30 years of not only learning by some of the best and biggest names in the world, but also having them as friends and seeing them in their real life and make sure that they are living their message. Then I wanted to talk a little bit about growing your wealth and increasing your finances. You know, it's amazing that most of us spend the majority of our day thinking and worrying and trying to grow and earn an income. And because that income provides for ourselves and provides for our families. But who teaches us? Who teaches us how to do that? You know, there is no class in high school that teaches you how to manage your money. There's no college class that teaches you how to earn money and what are the basic understandings about money and relationship about money that we must have in order to be successful long term. And then lastly, I wanted to share all that I've learned in the last 30 years on my personal development journey. You know, I've been a very big student, but also be a teacher of personal development for so many years. And I wanted to share how to become the best version of yourself. So I wrote 9 chapters, and one of my chapters, which was my last chapter, was actually this one, and it's called the Fab Five Rules. And what I did is that I went into a position of reflection for about a couple of months of identifying the biggest lessons that I've learned, that if I had some lessons to share with the world and they were going to be the last lessons that they would ever hear from me, what would they be? And I started identifying that these lessons really were not always easy to learn. and which sometimes is how we grow, right? It's not through comfort that we grow; it's through challenges that we grow. And then I started trying to understand what has worked also, so not only myself but through others that I admire. What were their lessons? What were their rules that they put together and that helped them become the kind of person that they became? And I decided to put it. And honestly, I came up with quite a few. There were over 30 of them. But the more that I kept narrowing down the basic essentials, like if I had only a few, initially I started wanting to have three, but I ended up with five. And I call it the five rules because these are rules that if you apply, right, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, you will see what I call a transformation. You see, there's a lot of lessons out there that I figure that we can learn by attending seminars, reading books, listening to YouTube videos. And as you know, if you follow me on my YouTube channel, every week I put motivational videos of 2 minutes, Dr. Fab Mancini in YouTube. Or if you follow me on Facebook, which is also Dr. Fab Mancini, you will see that I put positive postings and videos, and every day I have something out there to help you just make today a little bit better. But when I started putting these rules together, I started recognizing that these five rules were the essential of not only what helped me create the life that I have, but also the essential of what helped most of the influential people that I've gotten to know or that I have learned from. I can tell you that if you listen with an open mind, if you listen with an open heart, you can have anything you want in life. I've always told my kids that there's nothing they can't have out of life if they're willing to earn it. But if you wake up thinking that it's going to happen for you or somebody's going to do it for you, you're going to be disappointed. And I know that you can relate to that. You know, many times we graduate from school and we think that just getting our doctorate degree is enough. And we just open an office and people are going to flood into that office, and we realize, you know what, that's not how it works. And then if you're lucky enough to maybe do an associateship with somebody that taught you some great mindset and behaviors that would allow you to succeed, then maybe you can reproduce that, you know, and those is what I call mentors. And I've had amazing mentors in my life. But then for most of us, we recognize that earning it is changing ourselves to respond to the circumstances in our life. If we don't have a lot of money and we want to open a practice, how do we respond? Do we become a victim and start telling people, you know, there's no way I can afford this and I can't afford that, and your life becomes that I can afford, right? That's happening to a lot of our brothers and sisters out there. There is a lot of people out there. When I started my practice, I had $1,100 in my bank account, right? Many of you know that I worked for Dr. Parker at Parker University for 2.5 years, and he wasn't paying me but $1,000 a month with no benefits, and I was working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. That was his schedule. He was a workaholic. But I'm here to tell you that I would have gladly paid him anything he would have asked to learn from him, because he taught me some of the biggest lessons and rules in my life. I want this webinar to be about you. I know that if you implement these rules in your life, not only would you have a better quality of life with your relationship at home, with your partners, with your children, with your friends, with your family, but also you will have the most amazing practice that you can ever hope for. I want you just to listen to me. I'm going to tell you some stories that hopefully will help you understand a little bit more and describe to you what I mean. I'm going to give you some examples of how to implement this into your life. But most importantly, I just want to share. I want to share with you from my heart. You know, I want to be vulnerable with you. I want to tell you that maybe some of you see me and you feel like, oh, Fab has it all. You know, he's got it made. Listen, no one in the world has it made. In fact, some of the biggest names that I know out there have struggled the most. So have I. And I want to share some of that struggle with you so you recognize that it's not what happens to us that defines us. It's how do we respond to it. I'm giving you 5 rules right now to help you respond to life better. to help you stop being a circumstance of your life, of your environment. I want you to understand that those circumstances around you are there to prepare you to become the person you were meant to be. So if you're ready to get started, I'm ready to get started. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me questions. I get a chance to see your questions, and I'll incorporate the answers within this presentation so that way everybody feels that I'm speaking primarily to you. So the first rule is no surprise. This rule says live every day like if it's your last. I want you to know that Eckhart Tolle, a dear friend and somebody that wrote the book called The Power of Now, one of the best-selling books of all times, he said that if you're not living this moment, you're not really living. I want you to know that every opportunity that you want in life, every success that you want in life, everything that you want to accomplish in life exists right now in this moment. If you truly pay attention and stay with me and stay engaged in this conversation, I can promise you that you will have a transformation. This lecture, this webinar is not designed to be informational only. It's not designed to be motivational only. It's not designed to be inspirational only. This webinar is designed to be transformational. I'm expecting you to change. I'm expecting you to be different when we finish than when we started. I'm expecting you to go through an experience with me that would allow you to learn the lesson. So how I learned this lesson was a very difficult experience in my life. Many of you know that I'm from Colombia, South America. Instead, you're wondering where that sexy accent comes from. It's Colombia, in a city called Barranquilla, the same town where Sofia Vergara and Shakira are from. And I want you to know it's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful town. My parents came to us, 5 boys, right? I have 4 brothers. And they said one day, we're moving to the United States. We want you guys to have more opportunity. And when we moved to the United States, I want you to know it's not what I thought it was going to be. First of all, I go to a school where there's no English as a second language. And that means that I'm the only out of 2 bilingual kids in my class. So my teacher says to me that they decided that instead of going to 7th grade, I was going to go to 5th grade. They put me back 2 years, if you can imagine. I've always been a great student, but I didn't understand the language. I had to sit next to a girl named Maria to just translate for me during class. And then I had to spend an hour or 2 with her after class just to keep up with the homework. I want you to know that I was devastated. I wasn't expecting that. My mom said, we want you to come to the States because you're going to have more opportunity. Well, this is not an opportunity I was wanting. I wanted to continue to go to 7th grade. I didn't want to be set back 2 years. But, you know, like everything in life is a blessing. So 3 years later, during the holidays, right, during the Christmas holidays, my parents said to us, what would you like for Christmas? I can tell you that the one thing that I wanted since I moved to Miami was I wanted to go back home. I wanted to see my friends. They were everything to me. I wanted to see my cousins. We have over 70 cousins in my family because, you know, between Italian and Colombian families, we have a lot of children. So a lot of cousins in my family, and I miss them. I miss my uncles, my aunts, my grandmother. So as a surprise for Christmas, my brother Aldo and I, 2 years older than me, got tickets to go to Colombia. We get ready that night. We pack. We had the most amazing Christmas. We get on the plane. We get there, and my aunt is picking us up, and we're so excited. My mom said, we're not staying at our house. They wanted to stay with our aunt because our cousins, they wanted to see us, and they have a beautiful home too. So we drive up to the house, and we see a line of cars, and we said, like, wow, something must be going on. Well, they had invited a house full of all of our high school friends, our elementary friends, my brother's friends, my cousins, my uncles, my aunts. It was the most amazing night of our lives. Food, music, friends, love. You can only imagine after 3 years of longing to be home. That night we went to sleep, and by surprise I get woken. I was in a guest room, my brother was in another guest room, and my aunt was there with my cousins, and my uncle had to go out of town. Well, I got woken up by the back of a gun saying, "Where's the safe?" I got started. I started crying. I wanted to yell. They took my socks off, put them in my mouth. They flipped me over, and they said, "Where is the safe? We know there's a safe here." They took my socks off. I said, "I don't know where the safe is." I want you to know I was scared. I was very scared. They said, "Who's in the other room?" I said, "Well, my brother. We just got here tonight. We don't know where the safe is. We don't live here." They left the room. I heard my brother Aldo yell so loud, and then silence. They came back to the room with their hands full of blood, and they said, "We killed your brother. You better tell us where the safe is." I thought it was the end. They would keep hitting me. They tied my hands. They tied my feet. They keep taking my socks off and putting them back on. And by some miracle, the neighbors must have heard the commotion, and they called the police. The police came, the ambulance came, they fled. They took us to the hospital. I was okay, but my brother Aldo, they had to do a lot of stitches on his head. He was alive, though. And I still remember sitting in the hospital bed and saying to myself, at 16 years old, this could have been the end for me. At 16 years old, there was no more tomorrow. And I made a promise to myself that I would not take any day for granted. I would not take anyone for granted, because if I would have died at 16 years old, I would have died with a lot of regrets, like most of us. Unresolved issues, not telling people how we really feel, holding back who we are and what we want, feeling like we just have to live with things and with people that do not appreciate us. Well, I made a promise to myself that night that I would live my day like if it was my last one. I go to sleep every night grateful for an incredible day, but not expecting to wake up in the morning. And then if I wake up in the morning, I'm grateful and saying, great, I get another day to contribute. You see, I found out that the only way that you can fulfill your potential in life is to live with this philosophy. Because if you don't live with this philosophy, you will always wait until tomorrow, wait until next year, wait until the next decade, wait until this happens or that happens. I want you to know today is all we have. So we have to seize the moment, seize the opportunity. I want you to close your eyes right now for me for just a second. I want you to take a deep breath. And imagine waking up tomorrow like if it's your last day. Would you wake up early or would you wake up late? This is your last day. Would you wake up early enough and make time to love on the person laying next to you if you're fortunate to have someone? Right? Would you kiss on them, telling what they mean to you, what they've done for you, how you feel about them? Would you take time to make love to them? Or would you rush out of bed like what most of us do every single day, taking that person for granted just because we know we're going to see them later? Or at least we hope so. But this is your last day. If you have children, would you get up early enough to wake up and tickle on them and wake them up gently, or would you yell across the house, Johnny, you're going to be late. You're going to miss the bus. Rushing them out of bed, stressing the heck out of them. Would you prepare breakfast for them, their favorite meal, like if it's the last meal they're going to get from you? Or would you give them a piece of toast and just put them out the window, out the door? Would you go to work? Would you actually go to work? Or would you call in and say, I'm sick, I don't wanna come in today? And if you do go to work, how would you take care of those people? How would you treat your coworkers? How would you treat your doctor? How would you treat your CAs? Would you appreciate them? Would you say thank you for all the work you've done? Would you not take them for granted? Would you do something nice for them? How would you take care of your patients if it was the last time you were going to see them? Would you give the adjustment of a lifetime, right? One adjustment, the last adjustment you're going to give. Would you hug them? Would you say goodbye? Would you treat them with love and respect and professionalism? Or would you just take them for granted? Who would you call? Who would you want to call if it was your last day? Who would you forgive finally? Let go of that resentment that's holding you back. Who would you be giving thanks to, right? People that have done things for you, that have helped you, and maybe you've never told them. What would you do? Where would you go if it's your last day? And open your eyes. And whatever you thought about, I want you to write it down. Write 2 or 3 or 4 things down and do them tomorrow. Follow this philosophy for at least 30 days. Give yourself the opportunity to live under this rule to make you recognize that if you only have one day, you are not going to take it for granted. You see, because when you live like that, there is no regrets. There's only joy, happiness, peace. Everything you're looking for is right there. The next rule is a rule that says focus on service over survival. See, one of my mentors, especially in chiropractic, was Dr. James W. Parker, and he said to us, one of his Parker principles was, you must develop a compassion to serve rather than the compulsion to survive. I want you to know that there's 2 ways that you can live life right now. You can either live every single day like 80 to 90% of the population out there in survival, waking up every day, right? Every single day thinking about your needs instead of the needs of others, thinking about what you got to get done, what you got to have, all the things that are important to you. But I want you to know that if you choose to live in service, right, when you wake up every single day trying to think about others, trying to think about your partner and how can you service your partner, how can you give them what they need, how can you service your children, your parents, your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters, your patients, your community, right? If you have a list of 50 patients coming in, 20 patients coming in, are you taking time to think about what can I do for little Johnny today? What can I do for Bob? What can I do for Sally? Or are you just taking them for granted because that's just another adjustment, another payment? The lesson that I learned here is that if you're living in survival, paycheck to paycheck, and scarcity and not having abundance, right, it's because you're thinking about you rather than the needs of others. If you start switching that thought process, that behavior, and you start thinking and doing for others, you will never survive. That's the lesson here. Survival only happens when you're focusing on you. Service only happens when you're focusing on others. But the good news is that if you choose service over survival, you will never survive. You will always have more. So I want you to start thinking more service. I want you to start thinking what value, like, one of the greatest writers in leadership, John Maxwell, put it best. If you're not making enough, if you're not having the success you want, it's only due to one thing. You're not creating enough value for others. What value can you bring to others is the question here. And you only find that when you start living in service rather than survival. The next rule is a rule that it's an interesting rule. It's something that I've observed not only in my life, but in the lives of so many other people, and that is do what you love and find someone who will pay you to do it. Mark Anthony wrote, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. You see, what happens is that most of us are conditioned to do things in life for the sake of what other people think, right? One of the biggest challenges in people going to college, right? I have a son that is going to college in next September, and I see the stress that he puts in himself because he doesn't know what he wants to be yet. And I always say you don't have to worry about that. Just select a school that you feel you can be your best. And then as you go through some of these courses, start paying attention to who out there is doing something that you're attracted to doing, right? When I chose chiropractic other than medicine, it was because I love the way chiropractors behave, their philosophy about life, what they were providing for their patients as an option to traditional care. The fact that they were focusing on prevention and looking at the root cause of a problem rather than managing symptoms. I fell in love with chiropractors. I fell in love with chiropractic. And that's the reason that I've been successful. I tell my children, don't become chiropractors because your dad is successful. Your dad is successful because he chose what he loves. Choose what you love. So my question to you is, are you loving what you're doing? Are you exploring ways that you can love more what you're doing regardless of your circumstances? And if you can change your circumstances, look for ways that you can enjoy it and love them more. And if you can't change them, right? If you're tired of working for an associate doctor or a doctor that doesn't appreciate you, or you have an associate doctor that doesn't respect you and your practice, or you're working for a doctor's practice that is not treating you with respect and dignity and valuing you, maybe that's not the right place for you. So my dad, unfortunately, wanted to be a professional soccer player. And his father wanted him to follow the family tradition and work for the company, right? The company that they worked so hard to build. So my dad gave up on his dreams, like so many of us give up on our dreams. So my dad turned into alcohol to cope with that, turned into drugs to cope with that. He married my mom and started having affairs, and my dad regretted all of that. But he was out of control because he was miserable. He was empty. He chose something he didn't want. I want you to know that when I told my dad that I was going to be a chiropractor, my dad was my biggest cheerleader. My dad told me that story. And my dad said, all I wanted for you and your brothers is to select a profession that you love, because I know that money follows what you love. You see, success is not easy. And you know that by now. If it was easy, the majority of the people would be successful. Successful people have to think differently, have to behave differently than the majority of the people out there. But you know, even though it's not easy, if you love what you do, right? If you love chiropractic, if you love the fact that you're bringing health and well-being to so many people in your community, options to medications and surgery, if you're preventing all these disabilities and all these early deaths and suffering through chiropractic care, you're going to be happy. And when you love it, the hardness of it doesn't feel so hard because you're loving it. That's the secret there. And then when my son told me that he wanted to change from being a tennis pro to be an electronic music producer, I said, it doesn't matter what you choose because I know that you will earn it. But every single profession, every single industry out there has business models where you can make more money. You just have to decide what is the lifestyle you want to create for yourself, whether it's $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $1 million a year, or $10 million a year. It doesn't matter. And then you find people in that industry that are creating that for themselves, and you look at what they do. So initially he wanted to be a DJ, right? He had been very successful at that, and he realized that producers were the ones making all the money. And the producers that know how to DJ make the most money of them all. And he began to be a producer. And I want you to know he's earning it every single step of the way. Because I said, you have to find people that will pay you to do it. See, when you choose what you love, we chose chiropractic, we need to make sure that we find those 9 out of 10 people out there that are seeking a non-traditional way to get healthy, that have not discovered chiropractic yet, and they need you. Because we help 80% of the people that we accept. So I want you to begin to love what you do more. Fall in love with chiropractic, fall in love with our philosophy, fall in love with technique, become the best that you can be, DCCA, and then be looking for those people out there in your communities that can benefit from you and invite them to come. Invite them to be there, and they will be glad that you did. The fourth rule is a rule that I learned in a very interesting way. The rule is love yourself and others unconditionally. Mother Teresa, one of the greatest human beings I feel has lived in the history of humankind, said if you judge people, you have no time to love them. See, the way that I learned this lesson was one day I went to a seminar. It was a Parker seminar in Florida, Miami, Florida. I'll never forget that. And I had just started chiropractic college. And when I was there, the speaker was saying that we should all have a mission for life. And I was like surprised because I had heard that you should have a mission for your business, but I never heard anybody talk about a mission for life. And he gave us a series of questions to ask ourselves, like, what do I love doing the most? What was I born to do? What do most people ask me to help them with? Why do I lose sense of time when I do it? What attracts me about somebody out there? What is it that they do? And a series of questions. And then they said, the goal is you're going to write down all these things and you're going to create a mission for yourself. And it needs to be a sentence long. So after the seminar finished, I went to the beach for a couple hours before dinner. And I took a legal pad and I started writing. And I wrote for hours. By the end of it, I had scratched all the things and I ended up with one sentence. And the sentence is, to learn to unconditionally love myself so I can unconditionally love others. See, I want you to know that unconditional love begins with us. We judge ourselves. We look in the mirror in the morning and instead of saying, I love you, we criticize ourselves. Look at these wrinkles. Look at my hair. I'm too short. I'm too tall. I've gained some weight. I'm too thin. I wish I was a different ethnicity. My skin was a different color. I wish that I was prettier, more handsome. I want you to know you need to love yourself unconditionally first and foremost. Without that, there is no self-esteem. There is no self-worth. So there's no way that you will ever attract success into your life. You will sabotage it. You can be successful, but you will sabotage your relationship. You will sabotage your money. You will sabotage your well-being, your health, all because you don't love yourself. And then I found that the secret is when you love yourself unconditionally, it allows others to love you unconditionally. It allows yourself to love yourself. It allows you to love others unconditionally also. So I found out that of all the things that I could create for a mission in my life, the most powerful mission that will dictate every area of my life, finances, socially, career, spiritually, every area of my life is determined by the unconditional love I have for myself. And that's what I want for you to understand. I want you to be more patient with yourself. I want you to start complimenting yourself. You know, recently, the studies have shown that the average human being has over 60,000 thoughts a day, 60,000. And that 80% of those thoughts are negative in nature. You see, our thoughts, whether it's through thoughts or whether it's through verbally, we speak negatively to ourselves all the time. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't have this. I don't have that. All of these reasons why you can't love yourself more. I'm here to tell you that that is not reality. You need to change that programmation with affirmations. Anytime you think something negative, say cancel, like I learned from Silva Mind Control, and replace it with something opposite. Yes, I can do this. I am doing this. I am this. And don't, please, refrain from speaking negatively about others. The worst thing and the number one reason that you can alienate people from coming into your practice, your current patients, your own relationships, is by judging them. Love on them unconditionally. If you do that, all of a sudden, these vast opportunities come to you like nothing ever else. And not only that, your self-esteem rises, your self-worth rises, which determines your net worth. So I want you to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be patient. Think about the good. See the good in others. Don't look at the imperfection. Whatever you're going to focus on is what you're going to get out of that relationship, whether it's yours or somebody else's. Focus on the good of people. Be patient. Be patient with your children. Don't expect them to be perfect. No one is perfect. They're already putting enough pressure on themselves for us to add more pressure on them. I want you to know that you have the ability to love yourself more. You have the ability to love others more. And when you do that, all of a sudden now, you have the ability to reach your potential like nothing else. And lastly, this is a no surprise for you, that you need to prioritize your physical, your mental, and your spiritual health. You see, on my last book, The Power of Self-Healing, is in 12 languages, became #1 in many countries. I want you to know that the reason that book has been so successful is because I told people that health is the #1 priority that we must have. And all of us have the power to be healthy by the choices that we make. So I reintroduced chiropractic as a healthy choice to traditional healthcare. I reintroduced nutrition as a way that people can take care of their health, because without the proper nutrients, your body cannot heal. It doesn't matter how many adjustments you give it. I've proven that to myself over 30 years of practice. That's why it's so important that we nurture our bodies with the right foods, with the right ingredients. I also know that mindfulness is very important. If you don't take care of your mind, meditate, pray. And I brought the science that would show that. And I also talk about how important it is to have a spiritual life. And I'm not talking just religion. Yeah, we have studies that show that when you're engaged in your religion, you have the ability to heal faster. But I'm talking about spirituality. I think the best way that I can tell you is the way Wayne Dyer taught me 27 years ago. He said, Fab, the day that you begin to live life understanding that you're not a human being living a spiritual experience, but that you're a spiritual being living a human experience. Think about that. A spiritual being living a human experience. See, so I began to look at everyone and myself as spirits. I look at the perfection in everyone. I wish you could see yourself through my eyes. I see the potential that you have. I see the potential that I have. And that's what's made me be so influential in the world. The World Health Organization says health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. I want you to know that in chiropractic, we put health as a priority, but we must start living it in our own lives. How can we promote something that we don't live? And I'm not talking about just physical health, right? You may get adjusted on a regular basis, but I'm talking about your mental health. I'm talking about your spiritual health just as well. So I want you to start living this rule so you can be more successful in communicating the message of health and well-being through chiropractic care. I want you to know that health has to be the #1 priority because it's the one thing that impacts every area of your life. I want you to start really understanding that when you put health as a priority, there's nothing that will stop you from earning anything that you want. How many millionaires have I interviewed that will give away their millions if they knew that they could buy their health back? But they can't. How many people die with everything materialistic, but they have no health? There's one thing that we cannot trade in, right? We can trade in our shoes. We can trade in our cars. We can trade in our apartments and our homes, but we cannot trade in our bodies. I cannot live in your body as much as I want to. I cannot live in your body. I have to live in my body. And my body is a compilation of all the choices that I made. So I have to make good choices. I wish I would have more time to go over you, and I kind of give you here a little preview of my book. Dr. Phil gave me the quote in the front of the book, and I have some of the biggest names in the world endorsing this book already, because when I sent it to them, they said it was the best work that I've ever done. I want you to take your cell phone right now, and I want you to text the number 714-710-1521 and text the word Dr. Fab. I will send you the first chapter of my book, which is the FAB FIVE rules, in which it has a whole bunch of ways that you can implement these 5 rules in your life. I want you to start implementing this in your life because I know it will transform your life. These are the biggest lessons that I can share with you. If you don't want to use your text, just go to jointhefablife.com, and you can also get the books, the title, and I will send you some other things that will help you in your practice. I want you to know that I honor you, I admire you, I respect you, I am so thankful that you've chosen chiropractic as a career, as a way of life. I want you to know that it's never been a time better than today. 9 out of 10 people are struggling with a health issue. 9 out of 10. 8 out of 10 people are overweight or obese. Big epidemic that we have. And 7 out of 10 people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's time that we change that. It's time that we go from survival to service. It's time that you start implementing these rules so you too can have the life that you deserve. My wish in the world is to allow people to have everything they want in life because they're deserving. I know I'm deserving of that. But remember what I said earlier, as long as you're willing to earn it. And earning it just means that you have to take some action steps in order to start changing your own reality. There's no way that you can transform from who you are today to who you want to be unless you take action. So I'm encouraging you, I'm pleading you, take action. Follow these 5 rules. Use them for 30 days. When you order the first chapter of the book, you're going to get all these great implementation ideas, ways that you can put them into action immediately. And I want that for every single one of you. I hope that these rules will help you achieve everything you want in life. And more importantly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be in your space today. Thank you, Christy, for having me in this amazing webinar platform that you created for thousands of us that get so many inspirations every week with the different speakers that you have. And please make sure you text and send me go to my website, join the Fab Life, and begin to transform your life today. Don't wait until tomorrow. Remember, rule number 1, live today like if it's your last one. God bless you, and I love you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fab, and thank you for all of you who joined us for the webinar today. You know, we have been hitting it pretty hard on the business aspect and the financial aspect of running a chiropractic office, and I just feel like every now and then all of that information is so useful. But I love to be able to schedule Dr. Fab to be here because we need these moments of motivation and uplifting and just to get centered and remind us every single day why we chose this profession, or in some cases like mine, how this profession chose us and what it was that what it is that we want to do to find that joy, because sometimes we get just too bogged down in the business and it sucks the joy out of chiropractic for us personally. So thank y'all for taking the time out of your schedules today to do this. Make sure you use the text code to get the first chapter of the book. If you didn't write down those 5 rules, write them down. And just like Fab said, implement this into your life for the next 30 days and just document the changes that it has on your life. And I can just tell you that he has had such a huge impact on my life personally, has been such a blessing to me and my family. I just told him a couple of weeks ago when we were in Florida, my mom was listening to Hay House and was just talking about this motivational and uplifting speaker. And it wasn't until the end of it that she realized he was a chiropractor. And again, you know, she goes to the chiropractor, has for a couple of years, but she doesn't realize how big the profession is. And so she's like, well, maybe you know him. But I don't know all 70,000 doctors within chiropractic, 80,000 doctors. But I said, well, maybe I do. Who was it? And she said, well, his name is Dr. Fab. And I was like, oh, well, actually, I do. And I shared that because she had such wonderful feedback about how it made her feel. And we have just gone through personally so much in the last couple of months. And just listening to him and writing down and using some of his meditations has helped her find her new center in life. And it is just, I'm telling y'all, just these small changes will have such a huge impact for you. I can't stress it enough. So please write it down, and I want to know in 30 days, how did it work for you? What kind of an impact did it have? Let Fab know, how did it work for you? What kind of an impact did it have on your life? Because I'd be willing to bet a pretty big one. So next week, we're getting right back to it. We're going to be getting ready for Posture Month, which starts in May. We have Dr. Weiniger, who is from the great state of Atlanta, Georgia, here in the South, who's going to be talking to us about posture and how to promote Posture Month within your practice. This is a great marketing opportunity, and he and his team have done all the work. So if you cannot make it, make sure whoever is your marketing CA, your office manager is on this call. Watch the recording. And then the following week, we're going to talk about staffing and personnel and how to have a great team and get them to consistently perform, because we know that it's really difficult to hire great people who are consistent in practice. And then we're going to end the month with Dr. Mario Fusionary. The cash practice, is it fact or fiction? So we have a lot of great stuff coming in the next couple of months. Dr. Fab will be back in a couple of months because we're going to need another reset and motivation. If you have the opportunity to hear him live and in person at a state association event in your area, I highly encourage you to take the time to be there, because he is powerful and uplifting on a webinar. It is an absolutely incredible experience to get to hear him live and in person. So don't waste an opportunity if he is in your area, because when I tell you this man is busy, it's like crazy insane. Sometimes he is not even in the country when I get a chance to touch base with him. Dr. Fab, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Christy. And thanks, everyone, for joining us, and continue to come every single week, get inspired, get information. And remember, take action, because that's the only way you can transform from where you are now to the person that you were destined to be.
All right, everyone. We're going to wrap it up for today. I will see y'all next time, next week, same time, same place. Go and have a fabulous week, an amazing week, an uplifting week. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.